You ever see this guy with the pillows on Fox? My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell. He is the greatest. The My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell. And he's been with us right from the beginning.
Happy Monday, everyone. Good to see you here. Thanks for watching us on the Mike Lindell Show. I'm Vanessa Broussard. Illegal immigration is the hot topic at the White House today as El Salvador President Nayib Bukele visits with President Trump. President Trump stood outside the White House this morning greeting Bukele as he arrived. Take a look at the video there. The two met, they had lunch, then they sat in the Oval Office with cabinet members discussing their historic partnership. Because of this partnership, hundreds of violent illegal aliens have been deported from our country. The fake news was there, of course, trying to twist the narrative of illegals being deported back to El Salvador. President Trump and his administration put an end to it quickly and accurately. Take a listen.
Nationals of El Salvador under temporary protected status?
Do you plan to ask
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, you know, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant. Because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So we had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan
But
to
the
ask
Supreme
for
Court
it
is
to get
asking
it back?
to...
And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
In our favor.
in our favor against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I asked
¿Usted lo
President
liberaría,
Bukele,
Presidente
what is
Bukele?
can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I suppose you're not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always
How can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
But you can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world to the safest country in the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so they can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into our
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say about
Yeah, I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court...
Well, there you go. It was a fact check for the fake news regarding Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is an illegal alien who the Supreme Court ordered to return to his home country. But the fake news just doesn't get it. They asked inside the Oval Office. You just heard the response. The president answered, Pam Bondi answered, Marco Rubio answered, Stephen Miller answered, and the fake news still didn't get it. They're just not getting the answers they want. So they ask again, this time outside the White House. And once again, Stephen Miller tells them yet again they're being deported. Watch.
Anyone here tell me, what would happen to the illegal alien from El Salvador if he came back to the United States? Does anyone here know? Does anyone want to guess? Any of you?
He could be with his family.
Does any of you know the answer to the question? Legally, what would happen if he came back here? Does any of you know? Any of you?
You've
been writing?
Supreme Court,
I'm talking now.
You really believe the
You need
Supreme Court
to stop.
doesn't
I'm talking now.
doesn't think he
Does
should be
any of you?
returned? Why was it unanimous?
You're done. Does any of you know the answer to the question? Does any of you? You've been talking about it for days.
y'all would deport him again, no?
He would be arrested.
Okay.
He'd be put in confinement. He would be deported the second time to El Salvador again because there's no withholding order for an alien who's a member of a foreign terrorist organization, number one. Number two is the gang that he's a member of doesn't exist in El Salvador anymore. So what you're asking for is to be deported twice. But additionally, if we chose to just pretend that the withholding order was real, he would be deported to a different country. So, for example, he could be deported to Egypt. So, I'm just trying to understand, is it your view, in other words, you define a country that would be willing to take a MS-13 member from El Salvador. So I'm trying to understand from you all is, so if he came back and under our laws, he was then deported to Egypt or to Somalia, would you then be saying, great, I'm so glad that you deported him to another country? Is that what you'd all be saying?
So
Do you understand our immigration laws at all? But the premise of your question, the gentlemen,
So yes or no?
the return, guys, do you know the difference between a deportation order and a withholding order? Do you know the difference? Any of you, please. Do you?
I don't think they do. What they don't understand is that they're being deported. They're here illegally. It's a federal crime. Well, now, we hope you understand that the fake news is not on your side. They are not serving your best interests. They can't stand the fact that illegals are getting deported. This is what America voted for, though. Safer communities and a safer America. Let's bring in White House correspondent Kara Castronova live in Washington, D.C. It's not a hard topic to understand, but if you're here illegally, you're getting deported. It's a federal crime, like I just mentioned. What are your takeaways from today?
My takeaway is, pretty much the same as you, Vanessa, that the fake news consistently and constantly asks the same questions over and over again. And it's so frustrating for me as a reporter being here because there are other reporters here that do have questions. And it's actually suggested by the White House Correspondents Association, believe it or not, on their website, that reporters not repeat themselves, but they repeat themselves and they repeat themselves at the expense of everybody else here, other journalists that are trying to get in questions. So that's definitely frustrating for me. But my main takeaway from today was that it was a successful day. The president seemed to have a really good connection with the El Salvadorian president, Bukele. They seem to really be on the same page and wanting to work together in the future, obviously, to deport more illegal criminals to El Salvador and hopefully set an example for others that might want to come here and commit crimes. And also, my favorite clip, which I hope that they could pull up, is what I labeled number 4, and I hope, Vanessa, that you like this one too. I really liked how President Trump actually commented on women's boxing and asked the president of El Salvador if they allow men to abuse women in their country in such a way where they're punching women in the face. So if you guys have clip number 4, the last clip, please play that for Vanessa.
Like, do you allow men to play in women's sports? Do you allow men to box your women and box? Because I know you have a lot of boxing.
That's violence.
That's abuse of a
Violence
woman.
against women.
It's abuse of a woman.
Totally.
But we have people that fight to the death because they think men should be able to play in women's sports. And some of those sports, it wouldn't matter much, but it still matters. But some of them are very dangerous for women.
Some years ago, I would say a decade ago or so, women rights movements were pressuring so that we enacted specific laws to avoid men abusing women. And I think those laws were great because there were a lot of men abusing women. But now some of the same people are trying to backtrack on that and actually trying to make new laws allowing men to abuse women in sports. So actually that doesn't make sense.
In sports.
It doesn't make sense.
It's crazy. You know, they have weightlifting records, right?
Yeah.
A woman gets up, lifts weights, she's incredible. A guy gets up and beats her by 100 pounds. What are you going to do? A record that hadn't been broken in 18 years. You know, they put on an ounce, quarter of an ounce, eighth of an ounce for 18 years. Now they have a guy come up, ping. The whole thing is crazy. But they continue to fight. And I don't like talking about it because I want to save it for just before the next election. I said, my people, don't even talk about it because they'll change. And but I watched this morning, there was a congressman fighting to the death for men to play against women in sports. And you say to yourself, why? What are they doing, right? What are they doing? But your country's not too big in that.
No, of course not. We're big in protecting women.
We're good. That's right. It's a very important form of protection, too.
And as you can see, most of my cabinet are women, so...
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's why you run.
They're not DEI hires or anything. They're just great at what they do. Right?
That's right. This is very impressive. This is a first. We've had women, but we've never had 3 of them right here. That's
4 and 3
and
men.
look who we have.
So I thought that was impressive, especially the number of women in the president of El Salvador's cabinet, but also really just that exchange again highlighting the ridiculousness of this men and women's sport. And, obviously the president of El Salvador, most normal people, for that matter, are on the same page. So just again highlighting the hypocrisy of Democrats. They called this man a dictator. And again, I'm not commenting on his politics, but, they go ahead and just lambast, Trump is meeting with the dictator. This is a fascist president. Yet they are the ones that continue to advocate for men brutally punching women in the face. So it absolutely makes no sense. So for me, I love that because I'm a former champion boxer, and I'm really appreciative that the president continues to advocate for female boxers.
Absolutely. And, we saw the other day that 2 men were playing against each other in a women's competition. If this continues on, 2 things are going to happen. One, we're already being laughed at by other countries. The El Salvador president smiled and smirked when President Trump brought it up. We're just a laughingstock when it comes to that. And number 2, you're not going to have women's sports anymore. Because if men can play in women's sports, whether they say they wear lipstick or they, wear a dress, then they're a woman, then women just won't have a chance. But what's so confusing and crazy to me, Kara, is this is the party who claims they're for women's rights. but are they? You know, so it's not fair to women and girls when men are competing against them. So they're just, if they're confused, they're just a confused party.
Yeah, they're definitely confused. And like President Trump said, he almost wants them to keep it up to the next election because they keep losing on many issues. But this is one I think that most Americans, a lot of Democrats that are moderate and even left of moderate agree is absolutely ridiculous. But they keep advocating for this nonsense, just like they keep advocating for illegal criminals and, just completely dominating the press conference, journalists asking questions about when these illegal criminals will be returned to the United States. And it's, it's frustrating in general. And I think that was really highlighted today. That was really the takeaway for me from this, is that I think that just showed America and anybody really watching that scene in the Oval Office, really, just how ridiculous the mainstream media has become when it comes to what they're reporting on, the questions that they're asking, and it's literally like a clown show. The last clip I wanted to share, Vanessa, was when the president of El Salvador praised President Trump, really, at the very beginning, and that's when I sort of knew that that it was going to go well, because they really are on the same page. And he said, just like it almost sounded like something President Trump would say, how come the media isn't reporting on the successes that you've had at the border? 95%, I believe, down in border crossings. How come your media isn't reporting on this? And that really made the president happy, obviously, because he knows all about the fake news. And obviously, he's very proud of those statistics. So please take a listen to this clip from today's briefing.
How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it, because nobody can understand it. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So we have millions of people that should not be in this country that are dangerous. Not just people, because we have people, but we have millions of people that are murderers, drug dealers. They've been allowed to come into our country by other countries that.
So yeah, that wasn't the exact clip I was talking about, but it's fine. I'll just summarize. Basically, Vanessa, what the president of El Salvador told President Trump is that what he's doing with the border is remarkable, that it dropped by 95%, and again, really just questioned why the news media wasn't reporting any of this stuff. The leftist media really loves to report statistics, especially when they favor their narrative, like during COVID, even though they were completely inaccurate statistics. So, the president really responded well to that, obviously saying that's a great question. That's a great question. Why aren't they reporting it? It's more like 99% from what President Trump said. So that was an exchange that really stood out to me. And Secretary Noem then commented right after that it was it's absolutely phenomenal. She said what a great leader can do with clear direction, and our laws matter. So there was a nice highlight of Kristi Noem and the work that she's doing with HHS there at that meeting. So that was between that one and the boxing. Those were my two takeaways from today.
Absolutely. And, going back to the border, Kara, San Diego right there at the border with Mexico, there was a border wall video I saw earlier today of it continuing to be built. Good news there. You're not going to see that on mainstream. You're not going to hear that. Just this past weekend, 11 violent illegal migrants, including 7 Tren de Aragua gang members, were deported. 11. Some of El Salvador's most wanted criminals are here in the U.S. Some of those have been deported, which makes it a perfect time for their president to be here today. And this is not just Tren de Aragua members. This is MS-13 gang members as well. People who are wanted for murder, rape, aggravated assault, kidnapping. These are dangerous people, and they're being deported. And these are El Salvador's most wanted criminals. The entire country, most wanted. They're here in the U.S., and they're being deported. Some of them, as I just mentioned, being deported this past weekend. The mainstream's not going to talk about that. Instead, they're going to go to the Oval Office and then hammer Stephen Miller again, asking them why are they being deported? I mean, this just is crazy. It makes no sense. I'm just so glad that the El Salvador president was here today. It's perfect timing when it comes to immigration and getting these illegals, these violent criminals off of our streets, and the president of El Salvador agreeing with President Trump that it needs to be done. So I think it was a great day for him to be here, and it really pushed the mainstream media into a corner, basically telling them this is the way it is, and it's just not an America thing. These are people coming over from El Salvador, and the El Salvador president's here agreeing with it. So not a good day if you work in mainstream. They're not liking this at all.
No, they're not. They're definitely not. I think that it was just obvious in the American public watching today where their priorities are. And like President Trump actually said about CNN, he said, sometimes I think that they hate our country or something along those lines, just from the questions and the way that they report. And they're always reporting in favor of other countries and in favor of citizens of other nations, never really fighting for the citizens of the United States, unfortunately.
Well, we are. We're going to continue to. Kara, we thank you for your report and all that you do. We'll see you back here soon.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Staying on the topic of mainstream media, President Trump has announced that he plans to sue CBS and 60 Minutes. Here's why. He says, I just finished watching 60 Minutes, the fake news show that was scandalously responsible for removing a terrible and incompletely incompetently delivered answer by failed presidential candidate Kamala Harris to an interview on 60 Minutes just prior to Election Day, and putting it in its place a completely different answer to a completely different question in order to make Kamala look coherent. Now tonight, he says, with two separate but highly inaccurate stories about Trump, they're at it again. The people at CBS Fake News just don't get it. In a separate post right after this one that he wrote, he says this: almost every week, 60 Minutes, which is being sued for billions of dollars for the fraud they committed in the 2024 presidential election, with their interview of failed presidential candidate Kamala Harris, mentions the name Trump in a derogatory and defamatory way. But this weekend's broadcast tops them all, he says. They did not one but two major stories on Trump, one having to do with Ukraine, which I say is a war that would have never happened if the 2020 election had not been rigged. In other words, he says, if I were president and the other story was having to do with Greenland casting our country, as led by me, falsely, inaccurately, and fraudulently, I am so honored to be suing 60 Minutes, CBS Fake News, and Paramount over their fraudulent, beyond recognition reporting. They did everything possible, he says, to illegally elect Kamala, including completely and corruptly changing major answers to interview questions, but it just didn't work for them. They are not a news show, he says, but a dishonest political operative simply disguised as news, and must be responsible for what they have done and are doing. They should lose their license, he says. Hopefully, the FCC, as headed by its highly respected chairman, Brendan Carr, will impose the maximum fines and punishment, which is substantial for their unlawful and illegal behavior. He says CBS is out of control at levels never seen before, and they should pay a big price for this. Make America great again. Going back to what I said earlier, not a great day for mainstream media. Not at the Oval Office, not outside the White House, and not on Truth Social, hearing that message from President Trump. It is a good day for investors. A good start to the week on Wall Street. Numbers are up across the board. Taking a look at Market Watch at this hour, the Dow up 312 points. The S&P 500 up 42 points right now, and the NASDAQ up 107 points. President Trump put out a statement on tariffs, the cause of the market taking a nosedive 2 weeks ago. He says this: nobody is getting off the hook for the unfair trade balances and non-monetary tariff barriers that the other countries have used against us, especially not China, which by far treats us the worst. There was no tariff exception announced on Friday. These products are subject to the existing 20% fentanyl tariffs, and they are just moving to a different tariff bucket. The fake news knows this, he says, but they refuse to report it. We are taking a look at semiconductors and the whole electronic supply chain in the upcoming national security tariff investigations. What has been exposed is that we need to make products in the United States and that we will not be held hostage by other countries, especially hostile trading nations like China, which will do everything within its power to disrespect the American people. We also cannot let them continue to abuse us on trade like they have done for decades. Those days are over. The golden age of America, he says, which includes the upcoming tax and regulation cuts, a substantial amount of which was just approved by the House and Senate, will mean more and better paying jobs, making products in our nation and treating other countries, and particularly China, the same way they have treated us. The bottom line, he says, is that our country will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. We will make America great again. A lengthy post, but a needed post. A great update on the tariff war with China. And as a reminder, now is a good time to buy and invest in gold and silver. That's why we recommend our friends over at Fisher Gold. Go to MikeLindellGold.com. Secure your wealth today. It's endorsed by Mike Lindell, so let them know that Mike sent you. Representatives are waiting to hear from you. Again, MikeLindellGold.com. For qualifying orders, you could get a free coin and up to $20,000 in free silver. A clean bill of health for President Trump. The president had his annual routine physical at Walter Reed Hospital on Friday, and the report is out. He's great all the way around. Trump, 78 years old. He weighs 224 pounds. His eyes, head, ears, nose, and throat, all good. Cardiac and neurological, normal range. Lab results, all normal range, all good there too. Here's the doctor's summary. He says, the president remains in excellent health. He exhibits excellent cognitive and physical health and is fully fit to execute the duties of the commander-in-chief and the head of state. Of course he is. We knew it. The good Lord has kept him healthy, and he saved him from gunfire in the summer of last year. We hope the president stays healthy. He's always on the go, as you know, leaving Walter Reed straight for Miami on Friday to attend the UFC fight. I hope you saw all the great video there. He was accompanied by his grandchildren and GOP leaders. Here he is on Air Force One speaking on his health.
So I think most of you have seen they released my physical. I did the physical on Friday, and I understand it was a very good report. The numbers were perfect. And I took a cognitive exam, and I would challenge anybody here to beat those marks because I have a perfect mark. Were you impressed by that?
I am impressed, and I'm not going to take that test.
But you're not that surprised, right?
I'm not surprised at all.
You aren't. That's good.
All right, and he also arrived home to Mar-a-Lago at 2:30 a.m. that morning after the UFC fight. Left Miami, arrives to Mar-a-Lago with his motorcade 2:30 a.m. Did he sleep? We don't know, but if he did, not long. Sources on the ground tell me he was up when the sun came up playing golf on his golf course. 78 years old, the man never stops. Also, when we come back, we are going to sit down with Mike Lindell. He's going to talk about investing your money. We went over the stock market. We know that a lot of you had to dig into your savings over the last 4 years under Joe Biden, but you don't have to anymore. See the interview on investments next here on The Mike Lindell Show. Stay with us.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lindell TV. Today we have with us Carlos Cortez, one of the greatest sponsors ever here at Lindell TV. And you can visit AmericaFirstRetirementPlan.com and or call that number the whole time we're on the show here. So we wanted to get with you, Carlos. I'm trying to. I'm reading here stuff from your site here. Boy, the stock market is going up. I've been watching every day. It's kind of moving, isn't it? Why don't you first tell people what you do, and we'll go from there. What do you do? You take people and you tell them, here's where to put your stuff, your money?
Yeah, great question, Mike. Thanks for having me on again. It's very simple. We're basically going to transform clients' portfolios to match the Trump administration, to match the current environment. We have a falling interest rate environment that we're in. We have inflation that's out of control and the dirty laundry that is airing out right now to get that into control. So there's going to be a lot of volatility in the markets. We don't know if it's going up, down, or sideways, but you have to be prepared regardless of the situations. Tariffs are coming in, tariff money is coming in, so U.S. could be more profitable. But there's going to be a rough patch as we go through this Q1, finish up as we go into Q2. And so we'll see a lot of cyclical industries, especially like big tech, just take a hit.
What I've been telling people is, we're going into the abyss. This is unknown. We're in uncharted territory. I really believe that. We're in uncharted territory in history, and you need experts, everybody. You need somebody that's out there like Carlos. You need an expert at this time to take everything they've learned from all kinds of other things that have happened. But we are going into the abyss, into uncharted territory. I just got a call, Carlos, this morning from one of my bedding manufacturers. And he said, Mike, you need to call up your friend and tell him Canada's still tariffing. They're tariffing all of our bedding industry, our mattresses and everything. They didn't, which they did quite a while ago, like about, 6-7 years ago now. They did it to MyPillow specifically to our pillows. They made me make a plant up in Canada. But so what I'm saying is there's so many different things that are happening. You look over here, is the stock market going to go up and down? Is this going to happen? Are they going to back off on this tariff or that tariff? And this is what I'm telling you, everybody. You really need to listen to what Carlos has to say, because right there, you just said it right out of the gate. You kind of took away all my what I was going to ask you, but my thunder is based on the footprint that we have right now, everybody, there's no one out there that's an individual that hasn't studied all this stuff is going to know what to do exactly, or not even close, because we're in an anomaly in history, everybody. There's good stuff going on. There's bad stuff. And so what you probably do, as I know, Carlos, you view every customer like your only customer. And so you're not only, if I'm saying this right, you not only take the footprint of what's out here, now you take the footprint of the client and say, here's our best advice. And right, am I saying that right?
Yeah, it's really simple. So we've color coded everything, Mike, where green money is going to be a safe money bucket account where it never loses money. It only grows when the index grows. And then we have a yellow bucket where we have our money managers that typically are day traders, swing trading, watching the markets, getting in and out of ebbs and flows of the markets, using AI, using human day traders' experience. And this is called smart money. It's a liquid. We have this style of money for clients that want to be in the markets, that want to make money in the markets, but in a more strategic way. And then there's red money. And unfortunately, Mike, everybody is in red money. The 401ks, the IRAs. This is where you buy a stock and never look at it. You buy a mutual fund, you never look at it. This is the stories that you hear of 2008 during COVID, where they're like, oh, I have $500,000 in my retirement, but now it's a 201k. You only have 250,000 in your retirement. This is called red money. We also have crypto in there, real estate, precious metals. There's no protection on a downside. So anything that goes up and down in value is considered red money. You have no contractual guarantees. It is it is risk. So everything involves risk, obviously. So
right. Well, I'm going to throw a question at you. I know we didn't prepare for this, but I'm going to throw it at you because if you were looking at my portfolio, you're not going to see any cash. They took all that. They've attacked it. The last 4 years, it's all went to save the country. But I have money in pre-IPOs, and they've been basically locked up because nobody's doing IPOs. Do you see the future of our country, or would you, when the IPO is going to come back? Are the companies still so afraid to do them because of where we're at, or where do you see there?
Yeah, so I like IPOs if you are blessed to get into one, and if it's a great opportunity. Obviously, like the Lindell Network would be a great IPO. I believe in your brand. I believe in you, Mike. So me being biased, that would be a great opportunity.
Hold on, guys. We are already public at Lindell TV. You guys can check that out at fsbn.com. Check out FSBN, Frank Speech Broadcast Network. So we're already public. You're right. That'd be great. You guys can get in right now. We did a reverse merger last summer, but it is at a great price. But anyway,
yes.
But the IPOs. So for example, I know people that have SpaceX. Now, wouldn't that be one that you would think would probably go public? But, when's the last IPO? You've been following this. It seems like nobody's doing them for the last 4 or 5 years.
There's been a lot of regulations in the primary market. It's called a primary market. It's initial public offerings. And it really gets extremely political because only the bigger banks like Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, these are the major underwriters. So when there is an IPO, you need a good underwriter with a list of clienteles. And honestly, the bar has been set higher where the average American doesn't have access to it. And by the time these IPOs get out, the bigger wallets, the big whales have access, and they scoop them up, and they're only for not just accredited investors, but a higher level of investors where the average Joe, like myself or whoever, doesn't have access to it. So it's not it's just not available.
Right, but I guess, it's not available. What I'm saying is, I'm saying for myself in particular, I was one that had access to it, 5 years ago. And then I'm just telling everybody, I would have never expected. And then I had friends and family that put money in these pre-IPOs, and all of a sudden, it just collapsed. The IPO, nobody was doing an IPO, so that money got trapped. So that's.
Yep.
I'm just saying that's another way this economy and everything was affected over the last 4 or 5 years, because I believe companies were afraid to go public because they're afraid of the market. What was going to happen? How would the general public, if the general public doesn't have money to buy the stocks, well, where do you think it's going to go after you go public? It's going to probably go down, right? And
that's correct. That's correct.
So that's, I see the stock market in general right now. It's going down. I think, people are going, you have the reaction, all these tariffs, it's going to drop. You have I think I seen something the other day. Our great president wants to get the interest rate to drop the interest rates. So there are a lot of moving parts here, right?
Yes, there's a lot of moving parts, and for those of you that are watching now, I cannot give financial advice on this, so this is not investment advice. But if you're trying to make money on a lowering interest rates, I like TMF right now. TMF stands for as in Tom, Mary, Ford. TMF is 3 times the 20-year Treasury. So when interest rates go down, the bond prices go up. So TMF is going to be the leverage portion of TLT, which is a 20-year treasury. And of course, investing involves risk. And this is not a stock that I would put your retirement in. You could lose everything if you put money in. But for those of you that want to take a risk, you could look at TMF. If the interest rates do go down, look for TMF to go over 100 a share. Right now, it's around 48 as the time of this recording. I think it's going to go to 200 once those interest rates do plummet, and they have to
See,
because
guys,
the price.
you see this? This is right. You see this? This is why we have Carlos around here. You're taking it's just like this. You know, I compare what you do, Carlos, and your company. By the way, you guys make that call. You see the number on the screen there, 833-813-3446, or just visit AmericaFirstRetirementPlan.com. You know, if people are coming to me all the time for Mike, you're one of the best marketers and all this stuff. They bring it to me, and I'll sit there and I'll be able to look at it and say, well, you don't want to do this. Been there, done that. Been there, done that. Don't do this. Don't do that. And
Yeah.
and that's what you're doing there. You go, you know, the rest of us don't have, like, you started talking there. I'm going, oh, come on now, talk in English, right? I mean, you know, we don't, you know, a lot of us don't understand, and that's what you do, and you're giving people the options, you know, giving people all their options based on their footprint is, and plus everybody, I want to tell you too. Carlos, you know, you have your own show here on Lindell TV, right?
I do. I don't have my picture up yet. I was bugging Lauren about that. I don't have my picture up, but
okay,
yeah.
Well, we got to get your picture up immediately. But you guys,
I thought I wasn't good looking enough. I don't know.
But you know, Carlos is such a great sponsor of Lindell TV, but his show is so interesting too. I watched it. I didn't know if it was up there permanently or not, but you got your permanent slot. What time is your show air?
That's a good question. All I know is I record it Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you guys handle it from there.
Okay, all right. Well, that's cool. Well, you guys check it out. But anyway, I just want to tell everyone, when I bring on sponsors and when I bring on get behind something, it has to be 100% all in. I don't take someone because I'm 90% or 92. And I think everyone, you all know that out there about me. And I'll tell you, Carlos, it's been about 3 months now, maybe more than that, longer than that, since I first went on your show, and got to know you and got to know what the people say that your customers say, which in fact, when I'm sitting there, everyone, and I'm sending you over there, he's representing me too. So he's been well vetted, and I believe in everything they're doing. And I just believe it's a service that is needed right now more than any time in history. I really believe that. People, whatever money you have, whatever you have, your future is out there right now, and there's too many variables. That's the bottom line. There's too many variables. I'll bet you could bring up 100 things, and I wouldn't have any idea what you're talking about. The only reason I said the IPO, because that was one thing that I did get into that probably most other people wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying different things. You just mentioned a stock and how interest rates affect this, and the stock market, how that affects gold, whatever it may be. So you guys, you're in a time now. I'm telling you, you need to do this. You need to go to AmericaFirstRetirementPlan.com. Call 833-813-3446. I'm all in. I'm all in for you, Carlos, and what you're helping the people. You're helping everyone out there. At least they can get we'll put it this way, if I call the number, it would tell me, follow me. If I go to AmericaFirstRetirementPlan.com, what am I going to get there? And how do they know they were sent by me? There's 2 questions for you.
Yeah. So if you go to AmericaFirstRetirementPlan.com, what's going to happen typically is you just click the button, where'd you hear us from? We want to know and thank our strategic partners like Lindell TV and give you guys a credit for that, so that we can continue being a strategic partner moving forward. And I'm sure we will be. You'll be greeted by amazing person, one of my staffs. They're all great people that work for me, God-fearing people, and you will be placed in one of our calendars, either myself, Josh, or another advisor that we're bringing on board. And we'll go through a simple process. And actually, if you do give us a call, I'm sending out free books to everybody that gives us a call that requests a book. We just
Oh, there you go. I didn't even know that, you guys. I didn't even know that. Get their free book. Do it now, everybody. Get there now. Call the number you see on the screen there. They get the free book, AmericaFirstRetirementPlan.com. I mean, this is pretty amazing. I didn't know you're getting hands on. I figured you'd go through all this website stuff and all this stuff, but you're going to get. You guys, first come, first serve, right, Carlos? I mean, you just heard he's adding another employee. You guys want to get right to Carlos and the staff that's there before it gets so big, and you call now and get on there right now, because Carlos, I'll tell you what, I believe you're in for a big expansion, because this is something we all need right now. If people are scared, they're afraid, they're going, what does this mean? The stock market's going up today, down tomorrow. Do I invest in this, gold, this? What do I do with my retirement? Like you said. So you guys just find out. It doesn't hurt to get educated and go in there and here's my plan. Here's my footprint, and here's the country's footprint. I believe that right now. How long have you been doing this?
Too long. I started when I was 19 years old. Started my company when I was 23. I'm now 42. So 20 years. I got gray hair.
Well, you must really love it, right? I mean, you got to do the things you love, and I know you love helping people, and since I've got to know you, so
if I have 2 seconds, I want to say something very powerful here. So you don't really need to be victim of the stock market. There's a lot of people that have a lot of fear, uncertainty. They don't know what's going on. Like you said, we're in abyss. We're in uncharted waters. But we have accounts right now, Mike, where they're not invested in the stock market. They only grow with the index. Your principal is guaranteed. It is a safe money bucket. A lot of our call-ins, either from Lindell TV or other networks, they're calling. They're saying, "Hey, I'm done with the stock market, but I only want the upside." And so we can offer insurance on your portfolios where it's anti-CBDC. The government doesn't have access to it. And you're principally protected. Your accounts are typically going to double within 4 to 6 years. And it's a high growth account that it varies state to state. And so we're offering this all over 50 states, except for New York and Hawaii, because I don't like working those hours. And New York is too liberal. But yeah, we have the ability to protect your retirement, literally put a guarantee on your principal. And that option's not available on major Wall Street firms. And we're here to just be an open source, be an open solution for God-fearing patriots.
Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? Well, I recently saw a video he made, and I was shocked. That guy's amazing, and he's staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a very special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/Lindell. It will change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Lindell. You won't believe how simple it is.
It is Holy Week for all who believe. The president recognizing the Easter season, saying this Holy Week, Christians around the world remember the crucifixion of God's only begotten Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And on Easter Sunday, we celebrate his glorious resurrection and proclaim, as Christians have done for nearly 2,000 years, He is risen. Through the pain and sacrifice of Jesus on the cross, we saw God's boundless love and devotion to all humanity, and in that moment of his resurrection, history was forever changed with the promise of everlasting life. As we approach this joyous Easter Sunday, I want to wish Christians everywhere a happy and very blessed holiday. America is a nation of believers. We need God, we want God, and with his help, we will make our nation stronger, safer, greater, more prosperous, and more united than ever before. Thank you and happy Easter, he says. All right, this video just in, you're going to get a chuckle out of this one. The CFP National Championship Trophy, it falls apart as Vice President J.D. Vance tries to hold on to it at the White House. J.D. Vance in front of the team, he fumbled. Take a look. Here we go. Big oops there. J.D. Vance, a Buckeye alumni, says, "I didn't want anyone after Ohio State to get the trophy, so I decided to break it." The players, as you could see behind him, looking around like, what do we do? Do we laugh? What do we do? J.D. again gets a pass. He is a Buckeye alum. The 2024 college football national champions from Ohio State University, they beat Notre Dame 34-23 in the championship. It's their 9th championship. The ceremony is just wrapping up right there on the south lawn of the White House. As we close today, we want to remind you that Mike Lindell and his employees want to personally thank you for your continued support of MyPillow. They have a big allotment of their bed sheets that were earmarked for the box stores this spring. Well, the box stores did it again. They didn't come through. So they're going to pass those savings on to you. So now there's no middleman. You're going to get wholesale prices on their famous Giza Dreams and Perkelly bed sheets. All you got to do is go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Lindell, very easy to remember, Lindell. There's also a 1-800 number for you to call if you'd like to place your order that way, or if you are a small business owner, if you have a furniture store or a boutique or any type of business and you want to sell MyPillow products, please do. You can call 1-800-859-2879. That number's on your screen. Again, that's 1-800-859-2879. Free shipping options are also available. This allotment won't last long. When it's gone, it's gone. Remember, go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Lindell, or call 1-800-859-2879. Don't forget about My Store as well. My Store is one of my favorites. This is really a one-stop shop, a spot to go, and you can get everything you need from MyPillow. And then if you scroll down a little to the middle of the page, you see those different tabs. You'll see My Store. And if you click on that, there are so many different conservative companies who Mike Lindell has thoroughly, gone through a rigorous process of choosing. He doesn't let just any product get on My Store. He wants the best of the best on mystore.com, and there's a link on MyPillow, and you'll find conservative companies, everyday Americans, small business owners who are selling their products, and great American people behind these products. They love family, faith, freedom, just like we do. So go support them as well, continuing to make America great by supporting all of these great Americans who have great products. Again, one-stop shop for all of your needs on mypillow.com, and that'll lead you into mystore.com. All right, we are done here for the Mike Lindell Show for today, but we'll be right back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Thanks for joining us today. For all of your news headlines, you can follow us on social media, on X, Vocal, Instagram, and more. And we're also on LindellTV.com, LindellTV.com. All of your top headlines for the day can be found there. I'm Vanessa Broussard, and we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Have a good evening, America.
You ever see this guy with the pillows on Fox? My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell. He is the greatest. The My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell. And he's been with us right from the beginning.